Say something.
We are live. Hello and welcome. I am Inya Adaba. I'm coming to you live from our studios in New York, the Africa-related studios. And today I have with me three guests, three journalists, two from Nigeria and one based in the US. And everyone is here discussing today the current issues going on in both Nigeria and also in the United States with NSARS and also with the current U.S. elections. I'm very excited to have with me two broadcasters, or three. The third is going to join us in a short while. But three broadcasters are joining us, and one. The first person I'd introduce is Inya Ode. Inya Ode is a broadcaster, a radio personality with Nigeria InfoFM in Abuja. And she has been broadcasting, live with the Daily Dialogue, I believe, Midday Dialogue, and that's her show. And she's known throughout the country, with what she does. The second person is Ofi Ejembi, who incidentally is a former colleague of Inya's, right?
Yes.
In Abuja. And Ofi is now based in the US with Labari Network, and we're looking forward to hearing your insights. The third person is Onimisi Adaba. Onimisi is an anchor with Television Continental, TVC, in Nigeria. And he is just about to join the stream right now. I hope that the audio is clear and that he'll be good to hear us. But it's great to have all of you. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Nice to see you all.
I can see Onimisi making faces, so that means that he's probably not hearing us. And I'm really hoping that he would be able to connect, else we have to do this sign language from him. Let's start with you, Inya. Thank you again for being with us. What is the mode generally? You have been sensing what is going on in Nigeria and also in the United States. Let's start with the United States because that is really what is on the fore right now, the U.S. elections. So what is going on in Nigeria? How are Nigerians expecting for these elections to turn out? Inya?
Yes.
Did you hear the question?
Oiza?
Oh, Inya is having difficulty. I'm gonna come to you. I'm gonna come to you, Ofi. This is the thing with live. You know it. You are in the US. You see what is going on with the polity. What is the general feel from a diasporan point of view with the US elections right now?
Thank you very much, Oiza, for having me. And I think it's a very interesting question because the United States seems to have quite a following. I don't think the German, British, South African, Russian elections elicit this much following across the world. So you're looking at the world's largest civilization, the largest economy. It's a great concern. There's a lot of following. There's a lot of competition, as it were, between parties and then between followers of this. And so, yes, as a person from Nigeria living in the diaspora, it's interesting to see the different opinions. You have people who follow for religious reasons. You have people who follow for economic reasons, others for immigration and migration. And so it's one of the things that is a concern is how divided these opinions are. and how it's the basis for prejudice, for bias, for a lot of hate, a lot of friction, if you may. And I think that's, for me, is the biggest concern. I don't think it's a surprise that the U.S. elections have such a following, particularly from Nigeria, even though many people of color from different countries follow the elections. I think for Nigeria, and I was just speaking about this yesterday, is the fact that Nigerians identify more with the United States than they do with our former colonial masters, the British. We drive on the right side of the road like Americans. We don't have a prime minister. We have a president like the United States. We don't have a House of Lords and House of Commons. We have a Senate and House of Reps. So our political structure is tailored after the United States. We don't have provinces. We have states and governors, just like the United States. And so we understand this political structure much more. Somebody said the Nigerian dream is to miss Nigeria from abroad.
Interesting.
And
I've
so
never
lots of
heard that
Nigerians
one.
want to migrate to the United States. People want to study. People want to visit. People want to live what they've seen on entertainment via music and via movies and TV. And so there's a reason for that. And then you once again, you have, like I said a little earlier, you have people pitted against one another for these reasons. One of the biggest, as I said before, is religious, where people believe that issues around abortion, LGBTQ rights, and then also issues around immigration. Will people be able to get green cards? Will be able to get study visas, which have been on the decline even in this present administration? And so this is one of the reasons why you're seeing a lot of angst, a lot of following. People are really following this and wondering whether they'll be able to have those green cards anymore, whether they can migrate to the United States, whether they can come to study, whether they can, attain citizenship. So these are some of the reasons why you're seeing this following and this almost rabid attention to these elections.
Interesting. Wow, quite a breakdown there. Interesting to note. I'm going to bring Inya on now. We're going to be viewing a report very soon from Reuters, and it just gives us an African take on these elections. So I think I'm going to add that on and see if we can. There we go. Inya, you saw that. That's a very interesting report from, bear with me. That's a very interesting report from Reuters. What is going on that side, on the Nigerian side? What are people saying? What is the discourse? What is the word on the street?
You know, as I mean, I had a conversation with Ofi is smiling because he knows our typical audience and how they are. He knows. I know he's feeling this. But honestly, I had a conversation on this today, and people are praying for President Trump to win. People are saying, no, he has to win. If he doesn't win, we're going to the Supreme Court. Joe Biden wants to steal his vote. You know, that's the conversation I heard on radio today. So it's exciting. And others are wondering, wait, is this election actually happening in Nigeria? Are you guys as interested in Nigeria's elections as you are in the U.S. elections? What's going on here? You know, so it's on different sides, but I have people who have stayed awake. I mean, I know on voting day on November 3, some people actually stayed awake all through the night following the election, and they're just waiting and waiting. I have people who have been following the numbers and are like, okay, so if this state wins, if he wins this state, I mean, it's a done deal. If Pennsylvania and Georgia are done, then that's it for Biden. If he loses this, I mean, it's the permutations, the conversations are just amazing. But it just goes to show, just like that report said, you know, that the US is looked at as the big brother, right? As the perfect, you know, example of what our democratic process should be. And with this turnaround we're having, you know, there's some allegations, you know, we've seen a few videos around of vote buying and all of, okay, so, I mean, people getting stuff, right? Courtesy of a particular candidate. We've seen collation centers. We call them collation centers here. We've seen collation centers stormed. We've seen people standing outside and protesting at different centers. And it's a shock, really, for a lot of us here. We're like, okay, so we've never seen it this way. This is supposed to be the big brother. I mean, are we exporting some of the bad stuff from here? Are we taking it over there, you know, in this election? And that's I'm telling you, that's how it thinks.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know how to react to that, really. Ofi,
you know,
Ofi, come in here, please.
So people are like, are we, it's like we're taking ourselves over there, or what is happening? But you see, at the same time, it's a joy that we're seeing this happen. We're seeing Nigerians actually getting voted. I mean, that is such a joy. And for me, there's so many lessons we can learn from this, but we'll get into all of that later. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Inya. It's very interesting. I mean, we were on air just a few days ago on November 3rd, Elections Day in Nigeria, and we're also having this discourse and feeling the polity and the pulse of both nations. I think every nation in the world is participating in this US election. You know, Ofi, let me come back to you in the US. You've seen what is happening, how divided, so to say, the campaigns and the elections have been. What lessons are yet we, you know, the process is going on, and the counting is going on. Everybody's watching. What lessons can we export, can be exported to Nigeria with all that we have seen so far? Missed all this divisiveness and all of that, but people still went to the polls, people still voted, people, you know, what can we export back to our country, especially when it comes to our electoral processes and, you know, in light of the upcoming elections in 2023?
I think there are lots of lessons to be learned. It's interesting that lots of people try to sneer at some of the issues you're seeing around the campaigns, the elections, and I don't think that notion is exactly founded on any truth or objectivity. It's good to see the Goliath fall. Lots of people want to root for the underdog, want to say, well, no be our own bad pass. Last, we're all the same. But I think to illustrate it, what comes to my mind, I was thinking about this earlier, is like Luby Football Club being comfortable being last in the Nigerian league because Juventus or Barcelona lost in the Champions League. There are two different leagues.
Niger man, you must use football to analyze. We don't know that one, no.
So for you to be comfortable, in your own, to be comfortable in your own inefficiency, because somebody who has been doing it so well for so long is showing some signs of your inefficiency. It's not an excuse. But it just shows that human beings are human beings and that there's no system that is perfect. I say this because of the apathy towards elections and civic participation in Nigeria. Inya and I, for close to a decade, had been talking to people, begging people to go register to vote, those who actually have voters' cards to actually go ahead and vote. And you saw elections in some states being decided by just 100,000 people. Meanwhile, there are 5 million registered voters, 20 million residents in the state. And so even though here, like you said, you prefaced, Oiza, that a lot of the campaigns in the build-up to this 2020 elections were very divisive, there were concerns about the electoral college, about the election processes with mail-in ballots, with Corona, the pandemic. There are lots of reasons why people should have stayed at home, shouldn't have voted, should have thumbed their noses at the entire process. However, this year has shown a massive turnout. It has shattered every voting record. More people have voted in this election than any election in the United States before. And it says something, and this is what I think that we need to learn and hopefully copy, is that if you want to change an institution, if you have problems with a system, you do not change it by being aloof of it. You can only engage, you can only change by engaging. If you're going to change NSARS, if you're going to change corrupt officials in the National Assembly, the presidency, as governors, you have to engage. You cannot sit down at home complaining on social media and thinking that magically things are going to happen. Inya can tell you, people will call the studio, berate the presenters, scream bloody blue murder, and not go to a public hearing at the National Assembly when a bill is being discussed. We have to engage the institutions. We have to engage the system if we're going to see any change. So it is important that we actually learn this. We might not agree on some of the specifics, but the ethos of the fact that as citizens, sovereignty resides with the citizens. Sovereignty is in the hands of the people. So if the people are not comfortable about something, they should change it. I would say that there are a couple of other things, but another thing that I think we can export from this is to, and it seems now that I'm speaking out both sides of my neck, is that we must put faith in the institutions and the systems that we have at the moment. Many Americans are disgruntled, and I'm talking both red and blue, with the Electoral College. There has been a lot of frustration with this process. It was fine and dandy in the 1800s, in the late 1700s. It is very, very impractical right now in 2020. This was how Donald Trump won in 2016, and it might look like this is how Joe Biden is also going to win in 2020. So in 2016, Democrats are really pissed off with it. Right now, the Republicans are crying blue murder. So it is important that we begin to look at our own institutions and say, well, look, we might not like everything about it, but this is what we have for now. We are screaming about the 1999 Constitution. It's not perfect. It was a hand down from military minds. But guess what? That's what we have. And if we actually worked our 1999 constitution perfectly, if the citizens actually took the time to understand it, to learn it, and to work it, we would see a lot more change in Nigeria. So I think the two things that I would say, amongst many, is that if you are disgruntled with the situation, don't stand aloof. Apathy does not change anything. But at the same time, have faith in what you have at the moment. Work it, learn it, and do the best you can with it.
Okay, well said, Ofi. I just hope not just government now, but citizens as well listening. Indeed. Because it's easy for us to stand and point fingers at governments and institutions and all of that, but at the same time, the citizenry is, if we don't get the right type of messaging and the right type of narratives through to the citizens, we're all we're doing is wasting our time, and I really do hope that some of these key areas that you've mentioned, especially about doing away with old traditions that don't, it really not doesn't even make anymore. It's not practical in 2020, and it won't be practical in 2045. So we need to reevaluate some of those things. Inya, I'm going to swing right back to you in Abuja.
Okay.
Nigeria is just coming still reeling, I would say, from the End SARS protests that happened some weeks ago, and the fallout of that is still what is playing out as we see today in the media.
Yeah.
What do you have any updates on what is going on as far as the movement is concerned, as far as the judicial inquiries that have been set up, and the general feel of the Nigerian public and the Nigerian citizens about the aftermath of the NSAS protests?
Well, I think the NSAS actually opened up a lot of opened up that space to ask questions, and that was the point really of the NSAS protests, to ask questions, to demand for accountability and transparency in the system. Yes, it transited from end SARS to end police brutality, then end bad governance, and then NAS pay cuts. So there were just a lot of things coming together, but the most important thing, the center of it all, is accountability and transparency in governance. That was the point of it. Yes, the 20th of October, showed a totally different side. And from that day, to a few days later, maybe about a week later, everything went downhill. But there's so many lessons to learn from the protests that happened. That's the NSAS protest. And that is that Nigerians can organize, that young people can actually come together, that young people are ready to come together for a better country. In spite of the differences, in spite of the religion that divides us so much, in spite of the ethnicity that divides us so much, in spite of all political leanings that divide us so much, the thing young people want to see, the thing every Nigerian wants to see, is good governance. That's the bottom line. And that's what the NSAS protest showed. If you followed the protest for the 12, 13 days that the protest held, these guys were organized. They were organized. They were picking up their trash. They were waiting for people to pray, as Christians or as Muslims. There was just a lot of organization going around there. But, with the hijack of the protest by the let me not call them hoodlums, the thugs that came, right, to just take over that process in different states. It became really chaotic, and as we say, the rest is history. But we're here now, and the judicial panels of inquiry are ongoing. Yesterday, there was the panel in Abuja started, and we're hearing stories of police brutality in different ways. In Anambra, there's also another lady who I read about today who's asking, where is her husband? SARS took her husband in 2017, and they've not seen him since then. And there are questions being asked in other places, in Lagos. different parts of the country. So I think the judicial panels will actually throw up a lot of there'll be a lot of revelation coming in as to the dangers and the effects of police brutality, not just SARS, but police brutality in Nigeria. And one only hopes that we learn the lessons and we make this work. Now, NSAS as a movement, I believe it has kind of metamorphosed into the We Move campaign or the We Move movement. I know there was a meeting, there was a really huge webinar that happened on Saturday, last Saturday, and a lot of people joined it, about 3,000 and counting. People actually followed that. So I know it's not something that's
What
just
is
going
it
to
called
die.
now again? I'm sorry,
We,
we move.
we move. Yeah, we
Okay,
move.
carry on.
So I know this is not just going to die. Young people have Nigeria at heart. Young people want to see a Nigeria that works, and they deserve a Nigeria that works. But as Ofi said, you must get involved. I like the fact that a petition was actually put out to INEC to say, look, we are waiting for our voters card. When are you starting the process? What is happening? A petition was put out and people signed, and INEC, I know I interviewed someone from INEC, the chief press secretary to the INEC chairman, Mr. Rotimi Oyekomi, and he was like, he saw it too and he's been begging and saying, no, we're going to continue, we will do it. Oh, don't need to petition us, it's our job, we're going to do it. And that's just to show you that there is a lot of heightened awareness on what to do. A friend of mine, a good friend of mine, this Omabishe Barrow, just wrote a book on politeracy. I mean, being politically literate. It's online, it's free. People can just check it out. Politeracy by Bishe Barrow. And that's just to encourage people and say, look, you must be involved. You can't have a PVC and sit at home watching TV all day. No, you must be involved in the process. You can't complain and say, this PVC is hard, though, we can't go and register, it's too far, is this. No, we need to be involved in this process. And that's the bottom line. You can't leave it for other people, because other people will go and vote who they want, and then your candidate is hanging and your candidates
Indeed.
just sit down there. So if we're not involved, then the onus will definitely lie on us. But sorry, before I just go, let me just say another key lesson that I have learned and seen from the U.S. elections is early voting. On election day,
Thank you.
a lot of people are disenfranchised. Security people cannot vote. INEC ad hoc staff cannot vote. Broadcasters cannot vote because they are covering elections. Why not make it possible for these guys to vote early? Because they're also part of the system. We're also part of the citizenry, and we deserve to vote. So, I mean, people like me who have, I have my card, but then because I'm reporting from the office, I cannot go out to vote. So early voting is something that I really believe the Nigerian system should consider, especially for those who will be on election duty. Election observers, let's not forget them. And we have a lot of election observers who are Nigerians too. Election observers cannot vote. So early voting would help to, get this group of people into to be part of the process. Yeah.
I think that is so key, and it brings me back to Ofi, and I'm going to see if OJ can hear us in a few minutes. It brings me back to Ofi. In the US, we are here. We want to vote in Nigeria, don't we?
Of course.
So, can we? Do you have a word for our government on that?
I'm a little as much as I want to lend my voice to making sure that every Nigerian, regardless of location, is not disenfranchised. I've always been hesitant about voting outside of Nigeria, and this is the reason. We do not have a proper identity management system. So as much as I want voting to happen anywhere in the world, if you're a Nigerian, What is it to say that we're not going to have Malians, Chadians, and Nigerians, and Beninois, and Togolese, and Cameroonians, and any other nationality casting their ballots in our own election? A whole lot. And I said this once, that if I'm president, the very first thing I would address is our identity management system. Who is a Nigerian? How many are we? What are our demographics? We don't know that. When was the last time we had a census? 2002, I think. And so we don't know how many we are. I do not agree that we're 200 million. I think we're considerably less. And so I would say that
you think we're less? Seriously?
I think we are. Yes, I believe we're less than 200.
I have no comments. You think we're less? The way our people are born in number? Seriously, Inya? Really?
But,
I don't think so.
But
I think we're more.
But the point is.
But it's true. We do need a census. We do need a national. I mean, in the U.S., there's the Social Security. At least with that, you're able to keep track of who is who and the citizens. But we don't have that. And
we don't have that.
That was introduced. I recall the BVN was introduced as a form and a way, but it's not everybody that has a bank account in Nigeria, and even at that, there were so many problems with that. But I think this is a clear call to the Nigerian government to really, really reevaluate this and look at a system whereby you can account for your own people, you can account for your people in the country, and you can account for people abroad. Nigerians are abroad, they're lost. They can't turn to any Nigerian embassy or consulate or any diplomat to say, oh, help me, because, you don't even have account to say, oh, this is who is here. So all of those come to, I think these are very, very clear and serious lessons from, we're able to take from the U.S. elections. Enjoying my chat with you guys, we were still trying to get Onimisi on the line, having some serious technical audio problems, but he does send his regards, and I guess we will see him next time, when we come around. Now, tell us a little bit about your work, Inya, as a broadcaster in Nigeria.
Oh, okay. So I've been on radio for about 10 years now, almost 11. I'll be 11 in January. But it's been amazing. It's been a journey, and I love the work I do on radio. I love the impact that's made, and we do our best. It's challenging as well, especially. In the last few weeks with the NSAS matter and all of that, and all the issues around fake news and sanctioning by our regulators, and all of that, we just have to be careful. So it's a lot of pressure on the broadcasters, pressure coming from outside, and then there's also pressure from within, to deliver, to tell the right stories, to tell the true stories of what's going on in the midst of all the chaos of fake news and the disinformation going on. But so far so good. It's been a wake up call, really, for me. And it's a big responsibility for me as well, because it's on me to bring the right information to the people. It's on it. I mean, it's a big responsibility. It's a challenge too, to bring the right information to the people who listen to me, because I can't lie to them. I should not be seen to lie to them, right? If there's something to know, they will get to know. So while we're doing all of that, trying to balance it out, balance the pressure from outside our regulator, to ensure that we conform,
because you have
we don't get fined.
Yeah, you have the government, you have your regulators to deal with. So you have that fine balance. Ofi is smiling because he's far away from it.
Ofi, be like they don't fine you.
Funnily enough, I never got fined.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
We always tried to ensure we were on the right path,
But what
I
is the
was
right
I was
path where?
threatened. I was
Mm,
threatened, but I wasn't fined.
Yes,
okay,
yes, we got the threads.
but that's my
but
concern, is that
yeah,
what is the right path when it stands in the place of truth? You just finished saying that you have to speak with your audience, from a place of truth. So it must be very concerning, for journalists, not just yourself, for journalists generally in Nigeria, not
yeah,
to put anybody on the spot. I interviewed the people from the Committee to Protect Journalists last
right,
week, and
right.
Nigeria is top on their radar for
Mhm.
several reasons. Again, because we during this NSAS protests, journalists were attacked. The government also came down on the media, and if Onimisi were here, he would have been able to discuss a little bit about the TV station, TVC, and the Nation newspaper getting burnt. All these are, very, very serious issues regarding the media and press freedom in Nigeria.
Mhm.
Ofi, when you're here in the US and you can see a US operating from a place of freedom where not just the press, but citizens can challenge their governments to order, not necessarily in an unruly way or disrupting, a system, but to call people to order. So, Ofi, when you see this being practiced and freely too, in a place like the US, what are your aspirations for Nigeria in terms of the same elements of press freedom that we're looking at?
Um, my prayer, my hope, my motivation is to make sure that we get to that same spot. Um, I think the problem that we have is a cultural one. It's first of all cultural. By training, I'm a sociologist, and so I see everything in terms of cause and effect. All our social realities are actually a product of our values and our characteristics as individuals, as communities, as families. And that's what shows up. So, what you're seeing is not just government being intolerant of free speech. What you're seeing is our entire leadership paradigm that only speaks down and does not receive any feedback up. So think about parents and children. The average Nigerian parent does not listen to to his or her children. The average husband does not listen to his wife. The average teacher does not listen to students. The average
Mm.
principal doesn't listen to teachers. So you can see how it goes on and on and on. The average SS3 student or prefect does not listen to the others in the student body. The average SUG president does not listen to the students that he's supposed to represent. So what you're seeing actually is a cultural issue. And that is where we really need to see a lot of change. While, yes, we're pressing for institutional change, we also need to press for cultural change. And so it is my prayer that that the two run together, that we're seeing institutional change, we're seeing presidents, governors, assembly members, all forms of representatives beginning to realize that, look, the jig is up. You cannot hide any longer. If you do good, we're going to say it. If you mess up, it's going to get reported. But at the same time, that our leadership paradigm allows truth to be spoken to it. That what an elder seeing sitting down and Iroko youth, that whole parable. That all that talk, you need to realize that kids have grown now. So even that Iroko, they don't pass them. They don't go high and see more. But to even speak specifically to the issues in Nigeria, I think, like Inya said, it was like walking a tightrope where you're thinking about the regulators, you're thinking about government, you're thinking about the DSS. That's one thing that a lot of people don't realize, that we're also being monitored by the state security services. That you're also realizing that your management because they don't want to run afoul of the government. They're going to get kicked in the behind also if something goes wrong.
Mm.
You're also having to make sure that you are not seen as a cop-out, that you're not just an echo chamber for the government, but that you also realize that you have fans, you have an audience, you have people who are listening to you, who are judging every syllable, interested in every angle, every guest, every topic, every conclusion, every opinion that is shared. And so it is a very, very tight rope that you're walking. And so you need to be able to juggle all of this. And that's why it calls for a lot of wisdom. I turned to Providence a lot to give me wisdom, to give me finesse, to give me the skill to juggle it all. And I think it's important that even as here in the United States, I look at this and I'm like, well, the truth is, politicians and people in government are concerned about the opinions of the people. And the opinions of the people are very much shaped by the media and by journalists who should be giving out the information, reporting the facts as they are, and let the dice fall wherever it is, and let the citizens do with the information what they want. Lastly, I'll say this, that I was looking at a study a couple of years ago, I think in 2017, and there are lots of studies that actually buttress this point, that there's no democracy that has developed without a free press. That free press is not just for talk. It is actually one of the key components that shows whether a country will soar in all of its development indices or not. Every democracy that has failed with development has also failed with free press. Every democracy that has soared in its development indices, its GDP, it's cutting down inflation, increasing employment, making sure that it's export-driven, not just import-driven. All of those indices have also buttressed the fact that there must be free press, because they're the fourth keepers of the realm. They are the ones who make sure the politicians and people in governance do their job. Without the free press, politicians and people in governance will just burn through money like fire through wood. And I think it's important that we begin to push. I would say that we should not allow ourselves to be cowed. We should not allow ourselves to be berated, whether it's by people in our management, the regulators, the security forces, people in governance.
It's easier said, Ofi. It is so easy to say, but we work under authority.
I had been threatened by people at the NBC under different administrations. By
I think it's a general story of every media, any journalist that wants to take its job seriously. It's bound, you're bound to step on any toes, and that's just, we have OJ, Onimisi Adaba. Onimisi Adaba, as I introduced him earlier on, is with TVC. I'm happy you can join us now. We've missed you for like 45 minutes of the show, but guess what? Would dedicate 15 minutes to you. Okay, so quickly, welcome to the show, and tell us how you have been monitoring the U.S. And we've talked about a lot of things from the U.S. elections. We've come down to end SARS and talking about the Nigerian situation, press freedom. I know your television station was affected with, following the protests, and, you guys suffered some serious casualties with the burning of the facility. So all of these wrapped together, how is your coverage and the feel generally of the U.S. polity at this point?
Thank you so much for having me. Sorry I came in late. A whole lot of connection problems and all of that, but good to be here. So let's see how to wrap this up in the shortest possible time. First of all, regarding the U.S. politics, we're doing the best we can to cover as much as we can. It's a 24-hour deal right now. It's a very keen competition, between the two candidates. And for the first time in as much as I can remember, the U.S. is talking about going to court, or rather, one of the candidates is talking about going to court if the result doesn't come out in his favor, which is what is common in these parts. And for me, it's like an exchange of, hey, we are just leaving where you are entering right now. once upon a time, and even now as it is, elections usually come. That's when the lawyers smile to the bank. That's when the courts get busy, all kinds of litigations and going to the courts and all of that, especially if, one contender doesn't win. And it's strange to see that, the symbol of democracy in the world is resorting to that. Is for me, it's like going back. It's like kind of like backsliding. Nigeria is trying to ease out of that. We see that with what happened between Goodluck Jonathan and Buhari. There was no contest. He saw that he had lost, and he called Buhari to say, "Hey, congratulations. Let's work on our swearing-in
So,
ceremony."
in other words, you're shocked that Nigeria is actually teaching the US a lesson as far as electoral processes are concerned. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm not shocked. I'm impressed and happy that Nigeria has a lesson or two to teach the US on how to conduct, on how to lose elections and lose in a dignified way, or learn, to lose
And
in a
that's very
dignified
key
way.
because very few, Africa has been accused of that over and over and over again. And we've seen governments in Africa that have refused to leave office. And then there are
Yes.
these pockets, like you said, Goodluck Jonathan handing over to Buhari, and a few like that across the continent where they actually say, you know what, I'm backing out because it's the will of the people. Now,
Yes.
let's talk about I know you guys are working under very strenuous conditions in terms of, even getting your broadcasts out there. What are some of what should we know about what happened in your facility, and, what should the international community, be aware of?
First of all, it was a carnage. The I sent you the pictures earlier on,
Yes,
and if
you
you can,
did.
display it here, it will be good. But if you can't, maybe some other time. But we're looking at building from scratch, from ground zero. It's a case of pulling down the walls and erecting all over again. Not just the building, but the equipment, all from scratch. We are grateful, however, that no life was lost. A few injuries here and there, and they are recovering and doing well right now. And no life was lost. But that said and done, it's a big dent to the industry and to the community and to Nigeria as well. Why would you do this? Why would you do this to a media organization that gives information as best as it can? That's the question being asked. A few speculative answers here and there, but it remains that, look, you've damaged people's livelihood. This is where people feed
Indeed,
from. This is where people
indeed.
live. This is what people do. This is the essence of a whole lot of us. Here. This is what we live for. And thankfully, we've been able to improvise, makeshift. We immediately came up with a makeshift studio, to bring out whatever we can bring out, and just to keep us going. It's very tight, it's inconveniencing, but hey,
Yes, we can even hear all the noise around you. And
there we
typically,
go.
when you're in the broadcast studio, you won't even be able to hear all this. So,
Exactly,
you
exactly. So
guys are
we're
really
working under
working.
strenuous conditions right now. I mean, the newsroom, it's a tight space. The studio is a tight space. I described to Inya earlier on what obtained in the studio, and but what keeps us going is the resilience of everybody here to keep it going, keep the information out there, and in the best way possible. In not being biased and just reporting it as is. For people to make up their minds on what they want to make up their minds on. For us, is to give out the information, give out the news, and let you know what's going on as best as we can. So that's pretty much where we are now in TVC. The process of rebuilding, which is going to be a tough one, but possible. But for now, just working under the strains of the newsroom operations and also the entertainment aspect of the entertainment angle of it.
Okay. I was trying to play some, I don't know if, can you
Video.
see the pictures?
No, we can't, or I
Oh,
can't.
okay. All right. It didn't work, but I was trying to share screen and play
Some of
some
the
of
videos or some of the
photos
pictures.
Yeah, from TVC and the aftermath of what happened. I'm still gonna try to see
Okay, while
if
you're
I
trying
can.
that, I must also add that we also have had a whole lot of support from the media organization, the broadcast organization of Nigeria, and other organizations, Nigerian Union of Journalists, and other partners who have come to sympathize and just show some support here and there. The paid visits and encouraged everyone here and there, and just to keep spirits up and keep the faith on.
Hmm.
Again, to indicate, look, we're all in this together, and in whatever way we can support, we will support.
Hmm.
Just keep it going.
We stand in unison with our media colleagues, right, Ofi and Inya.
Indeed,
No, no.
indeed, indeed.
It's
Yeah.
it's a
I think it's just like Onimisi said. I think it's totally senseless that this happened. I think it's a sad occurrence, really, that you would have people do this for whatever reason, really. And I
I
think it also just goes to show and buttress the point we're making earlier. And broadcast houses actually are targets for whatever interests back in Nigeria. And I think this needs to be it needs to
It
be
definitely
addressed.
does.
It does
It
need to be
definitely
addressed.
does. I'm still struggling here, trying to see if I can just put up some of the photos from the carnage, that happened. But it is something that Inya, you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say as well that it's so unfortunate, that this has happened. But it also shows to me. I remember the day I brought this up on radio when it happened, and my point was, look, it's not just about burning down a building or burning down somebody's business. It's
Mm-hmm.
about
Indeed.
livelihoods. It's about a cook, yeah, in that kitchen, in that cafeteria. It's about the driver who earns a
Mm-hmm.
living
Mm-hmm.
from driving that car that you burned. It's about the cleaner who earns her living and her keep from cleaning that building. And then I had some guy, I'm not going to call him names, but
Sister.
some guy who reached out to me, and he sent a message and said, should they be cooks and cleaners in their country? I'm like, what are you saying? So that's what happens when people are not connected. When people do not take ownership that this thing is ours. And as my mentor and spiritual head, Father George Ehusani, would say, that's why somebody will go and burn down the Nigeria Ports Authority, because they believe they don't have a stake in it. That's
Hmm.
why they will freely go and burn a TV station, because as far as they're concerned, not them. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's about them. It's
Right.
not about
So
us.
there's a
And
disconnect.
there is a disconnect, and that's the connection we need to make. That's that patriotism we keep talking about, nationhood, ownership of what we have. To know
Hmm.
that, look, the big boys are not going to ride in the BRT buses. It's you, it's me, it's the small people on the road that will ride those BRT buses. Now they are burnt. We're in trouble.
Hmm.
Now we don't take it's not we don't have that connection to understand that these things are actually ours in the long run. And as long as we don't have that connection, that emotional connection to our country and to what is ours, then we'll just burn and just keep burning. So we need to get back to really make our people understand that it is about you and I. It's
Hmm.
about our the common good, and leadership should be at the forefront of making this happen. Leadership
Indeed.
should be at the forefront of encouraging people and reminding us of the common good, that this thing you have burnt is ours, and it's our money that will still be used to fix it at the end of the day.
Whew, man, there's a lot to take on. Onimisi,
You
you
really
had
hit
some
that
last
point.
thoughts? You had some final thoughts?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you really hit that point. Regarding connection and the buses. I saw when the buses were burning, and I'm like, my goodness. By the time we now get some stability, which we have got in these parts in Lagos, and transportation is up and running, it is these same people who would suffer the transport problem. because the buses wouldn't be available. The buses wouldn't be there. And so the few that would be on ground, people would be pressed for it. Please forgive the noise, the ambience.
We forgive.
People would be pressed for it. The transport, whatever, the transport fee will be jerked up and all of that. And, like Inya said, it comes back to us. It's a case of when there's a mob, there's no sanity. Sanity goes so low that, you just want to burn, destroy, break, and name anything and anyone. It's that connection that is needed. Connection.
And that healing. Yeah, that healing. We talked about it earlier on, bringing us again to a place of healing and understanding. What is a world when parents don't understand their children? I mean, it was almost poetic as Ofi laid it out. And that is really where, from any perspective that you sit and watch all that is playing out, whether it's in Nigeria or the US, it's again, and I have spoken to voters here, people that were going to the polls, whether they were voting for Trump or voting for Biden, it didn't matter. The point is, people wanted to be carried along. People wanted to feel a connection with their countries. People wanted their leaders to provide security and take their interests and take their health interests and other interests at heart. So the issues are the same, whether in Nigeria or in the US. But it has been so awesome. Onimisi, I'm sorry you missed a lot of the conversation, but hey, it has been awesome having everybody here. Like I mentioned earlier, Inya and Ofi and OJ, we're all colleagues. And so please, let's make this
OJ was the boss.
Fine. Oh, OJ was the boss. Okay,
he
fine.
Was the boss.
Yep. Oh God, the song.
Toilet on you.
So we have a few more minutes, about 3 minutes to wind down the show. Do you have any final thoughts?
Could I say something, to jump off what Inya was saying about attitude? One of my favorite movies of all time, Remember the Titans, Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
There's a line that two of the teammates were having a spat. And the guy said to him, he said, attitude reflects leadership. Look at the attitude of any people. It is a function of the leadership style. Why is it that the average Nigerian does not feel like he has a stake in Nigeria? Whether he's burning a BRT bus, or he's refusing to vote in an election, or he's embezzling hundreds of thousands of naira or hundreds of billions. Why is it that we don't have that feel? The greatest failing of our leadership, political leadership and also social leadership, has been the failure to craft a national identity.
National identity
and ideology of the United States is liberty. In France, it's egalitaire, equality. In Nigeria, what is our philosophy? What is our ideology? We don't have one. Our greatest failing has not been the failure of bridges, of roads, of infrastructure. Those things are a product of a shared identity. So why do we retreat to our social bunkers, our religious bunkers, and see ourselves in those lights rather than Nigerian? That really is the problem. And maybe we can unpack that some other time. But that's
so much. Ofi, we're waiting for you. Inya, let's have your no, Inya will save you for last. Onimisi. Okay. Oh, he just disappeared. Let's have your final thoughts, Inya, and then
for me, Moise, I'm so super glad to be here, and thank you so much for making this happen. For me, I must say to our fellow countrymen and women, we're home. Nigeria is home for us, and we need to make it home. We need to have a stake at this. We need to realize that we must be involved in making this country better. Yes, a lot lies on leadership, but then we as followers must make it work, because the leaders don't come from Mars. They come from among us. So if we can make it work from home, if we can make it work in our small spaces, then we'll definitely see a Nigeria that works. But we must be involved to make it work. And that involvement involves being politically literate, be involved. As Bisha will always say, let's get involved. Thank you, Oisa.
Thank you so much. Let me come to you, Onimisi, with your final thoughts. We have just a few minutes to go.
I thought we were just starting. All right. Just like Inya said, it's about taking responsibility for everyone. You know, leadership and followership. It's not them. It's all of us. It's all encompassing. Once we're able to understand this and we realize that it is ours, I mean, it starts from home. It starts from the individual to your immediate environment, which is your home, and then outside to the community. Once we're able to get it within ourselves, our homes, and then the community, I think there'll be some level of positive difference. And like I said, I'm so glad that where the U.S. should learn from us on peacefully handing over and making that phone call to say, hey,
I guess we won't hear the last of it. Thank you so much, guys. Oh my goodness. I wish we can go on, but we have to end the conversation here. Thank you very much, our guest. We were talking to broadcasters today from Nigeria, across Nigeria, and also in the US. Onimisi Adaba with Television Continental, Inya Ode with Nigeria Info, and Ofi Ejembi with Labari Network. Thank you again for your time. It's really has been very enlightening speaking with all of you. I've learned so much about what is going on and how the world is viewing the US. Keep watching this channel and stay tuned, because we'll be coming back in about an hour or so. We have Adiola and Dr. Damages. That is Keeping It Real host Adiola Fayehun and Dr. Damages of Rudolph Okonkwo as Dr. Damages. So they'll be joining us and also be giving the analysis of what is going on with the U.S. elections and everything else. So that's in about an hour's time from now. So join us again. Thank you all for watching, and stay safe where you are. It's not do or die. Whatever the results of the elections are, please keep safe and accept it the way it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
And hopefully,
thank you,
yeah, we'll see you guys soon. All right then.
Thank you. All right, see you around. Take care.